My name is Meeka Kullberg. I'm the Duniway PTA president this year. I remember some of you from the home tour, some of you from the school, some of you from the neighborhood. So I am just going to beg your attention to let go of any perceptions or notions you might have about public education in PPS, in the state of Oregon, in what it actually looks like. Maybe when your kids went to school, maybe in what you've heard, maybe in the state where you came from. Right now in PPS, we are facing an enormous shortfall. They knew it was coming, but somehow we always end up being unprepared. We are facing a huge state deficit, and unfortunately, because children are small and unable to advocate for themselves, they are always the first to go. So PPS is putting forth a cuts budget right now. I would also beg you to not immediately get angry at the PPS board or the school administrator that you know that's not great, or really anyone that you know directly connected to education. This is, frankly, a community problem for all of us. And it's something that we have all, including myself, ignored for a very long time, and this is where we're at now. And these kids are in a really bad place, and it's our responsibility to step forward from them. And I say that with a lot of hope, because this year at Duniway we started an advocacy committee, and we are already seeing small changes made at our school alone that are hopeful. And they're things that actually bring achievement to the front. They reach out to vulnerable kids that exist at every school in PPS. And so I approach all of these things with the idea that if committed adults are willing to do something, we can make a difference every day. So what you have in front of you right now is information on the PPS bond that is coming forward. It is a very large amount of money. It's $790 million. And basically what it is addressing is the long-term effects of deferred maintenance on PPS schools. PPS operates 90 different educational sites. They have 100 buildings. On average, those buildings are 77 years old. And just to give you a good idea of how dire the situation is, I was at a PPS board presentation where maintenance came in, and we're talking about how their maintenance vehicles are so old that they are now eBaying parts for them because they no longer make them. So these are the vehicles that are driving around supposedly making schools safe for our kids. Our schools are not seismically prepared. There is lead in the waters. There is lead paint. Woodstock Elementary School is an all-wood building. It is covered in lead paint that is flaking off every day. PPS used to have 20 painters that operated on a schedule where they would just go through every building on a schedule and repaint. Now they have 5 for 100 buildings, 90 of which are occupied by children. They have 1 roofer in the entire district. And the reason that they've had to do that is frankly because they needed to keep the money in the classroom. If it's roofs or teachers, they're going to take teachers every time. But now our kids, and I think libraries like this one are a little bit deceptive, because if you go to Duniway, we have a gorgeous library too, and it makes you feel warm and fuzzy about education. But then you go sit in the classroom where there's 32 kids sitting knee to knee in 5th grade, and you wonder how in the world they're even learning. And they're not. My son's in 3rd grade right now, and we have 13 kids at a minimum who are reading so far below benchmark that they're 18% likely to graduate from high school. There's a good chance that kids at Duniway Elementary School, based on how we have underfunded education, will never see the new high schools that these bonds are supposed to pay for. And it makes me cry. I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
school year in the country.
What was that?
The shortest school year in the country.
We do, and that's the other thing. So the kids in Oregon, by the time they graduate PPS, will have gone to school a year less than most public school kids in the nation. So I say that not because I want you to yank your kids out of PPS, but because the way that we make a difference is we invest in children, and we do that by voting for things like the bond. The bond will cost, in the first 4 years, $1.40 for every $1,000. Then the next 4 years after that, it will be 68 cents on the dollar. It caps out at $2.50 per thousand. And then it will start to be, after this bond, it will be a renewal bond, which are much easier to pass. The thing is that we do have lead in every school. We have open asbestos at Duniway. We have lead paint. We have radon. I mean, these are at every building. We are asking our kids to learn and become good citizens in schools that we would not attend ourselves. The air quality in many of the schools is so poor, especially at the secondary schools. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, just from a hygiene sense of sitting in a class with like 30 eighth grade boys with no airflow, I mean, that's a health hazard alone. However, you know, we also have to think about the fact that we lose people. PPS has a real problem attracting quality administrators and teachers because nobody wants to teach in a district where the community and the state don't invest in education. We have also, I think, shorted ourselves in the sense that if you go across the river to Washington, I used to work for Evergreen Public Schools, there was brand new high schools and elementary schools there. If you walk into a well-funded school, it's everything. You see happy kids, you see communities where people are investing, you see the future. Kids are the best investment because they turn it around so fast. I run small reading groups with kids who basically, because our school is so overcrowded already, have not gotten the attention that they need and who are falling through the cracks. And they're dying to know when I will be back because they just want to learn something. You know what, you're gonna see these kids running around, they're gonna run their scooter into your car, they're maybe not gonna be super polite, they're little kids. They are amazing, and we owe this to them. Because this is our legacy. Our voting record and what we decide to put our money forward in the community, that's our legacy that we're leaving to them. They do not deserve this. They didn't ask to be in a district like this, but we can make a change all the time. What I would ask you too is if you are angry at the school board, if you think PPS is the worst, then vote those school board members out. Just get them out of there. If you're angry at the way that the budget has fallen through the cracks, vote out those legislators. Become a one-issue voter. If it's the budget, if it's public funding, whatever it is. When we vote against bonds, we vote against kids. The only people you punish when you don't vote for a bond or a levy and you don't encourage your neighbors and friends to do that are children. Because they're the ones who come here every single day and try to do their best when the roof is leaking, when the HVAC doesn't work and they're wearing gloves so they can play their musical instruments, when they're sitting in a cafeteria that's so cold or that doesn't have electricity. These are the real things that are happening to kids at our schools all the time. And then you go and see the new high schools that they're able to build with the bonds, how they have science and they have math and they have resources, the teachers that flock to those buildings. It's amazing. They can do amazing things, and they'll do it so quickly if we give them the chance.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
We have time for a question? Is there time for a question?
Of her?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks, Meeka. I know this is really important. The money from the bond, is it only for maintenance, or can it
Yes.
be used for anything else?
So that's a good point. So for those who aren't familiar with bond money is, it's basically buildings. It can only go to maintenance and buildings. Levies fund teacher supplies and staff members. So this money will only go to support schools. It can't be taken, it can't be used for anything else. And they have already laid out a full bond budget. And just to make people feel a little better, I have personally talked to and listened to the man, his name is Jerry, who's in charge of the modernization, and I've actually heard him say, I don't want to put this next project forward because I am not sure we have enough contingency money. So if you're concerned about the people that are overseeing these actual projects, he's amazing, and he has high integrity, and he is doing a good job. From the 2012 bond to now, construction has raised 30% in cost. So if we don't continue this bond cycle, this is the second in the bond cycle, we're gonna lose momentum, and it's gonna cost us more in the long run.
You've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How many people in this room have either a child or a grandchild at Duniway? Oh, not as many as I thought.
And I will say that as PPS schools fail, property values do drop. And many, many people have moved to this neighborhood because they believe this is a great school. But we may not always be at Duniway, frankly. But these are all of our kids. And we tell the kids at Duniway that everybody at the school cares about them, but everybody in the community cares about them. They're all our kids. We are all their adults. And that's where, when we vote for things like this, we demonstrate that care for them.
Okay,
I'm
thanks.
so sorry, guys. I could talk about this all night. If you have any questions, please feel,
Isn't the bottom line that PERS, mandatory contributions to PERS is second, all the other categories dry?
The PERS lawsuit is one of the reasons that they're facing a deficit, because they lost the lawsuit, so they didn't pay into the PERS account for a long time, and so now we have to pay back at a higher rate. That's one of the reasons the state is facing a deficit, and one of the reasons that we're in this issue, but frankly,
Okay,
once
thank you.
again,
I've got two really minor issues just to raise before we're out of here.
thank